Up next, Jason Shurka back with us as we talk about disclosure and the consciousness of the mind. Next on Coast to Coast AM. More people should do what you do, Jason. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, George. I hope you're doing well.
I am. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me again.
Folks at Gaia are very excited about the Beyond Belief show we taped, too, some time ago. For people who are brand new to the program, Jason, tell us a little bit more about your background beyond what I just read.
So I actually come from a background that is not relevant to what I do today. I come from a business background, real estate background. I was always interested in, the metaphysical, spiritual side of life. It was never my job. It was never anything that I did full time. But, of course, there were certain points in my life that took very interesting turns. And I started writing and I started sharing more information that I was privy to on various different topics, generally on the spiritual side of everything. And after a few documentaries, interviews, and books that were written, a lot of people around the world just decided to start tuning in and wanted to hear more. So I continued on that path.
An individual by the name of Ray entered your life in 2018. Tell us what happened.
So Ray is not his real name. That's an alias. He chooses to go anonymously just because of his own security and privacy concerns. But to make a very long story short, in 2018, I was approached by an individual. We're going to call him Ray for practical purposes of the conversation. Mm-hmm. And one thing led to another. Over a period of about 2 years, he revealed sort of who he was, who he works for, who he works with, and why I was approached. He and they, which is the organization that he works with, which I'll explain in a second, pretty much, I guess, wanted to recruit me. And they do this to thousands of people around the world. There's about 8,500 people today that are part of the organization. And that name is TLS. TLS stands for the Light System. Again, to make a very long story short, they're a physical organization. Very well-known people in the world are a part of them. So just like there are dark entities and organizations in the world doing very evil things in the world, the law of balance obviously tells us that there's the exact opposite. TLS is one of the organizations that works on, we can call it the light side, to help us through the times that we're in.
Why you? Why did they find you?
I ask myself every day. The real question I asked was, how do they choose certain individuals? And their answer is always, it's based on a certain energy that individual holds and a match of energy for a specific purpose.
Was there ever a point where you felt that Ray was deceiving you or pulling the wool over you?
Not so much deceiving. I was always a healthy skeptic. I never took anything at face value of what I was being told. I'm the type of person that has a lot of questions. But in terms of, my form of proof, evidence, and experiences, I have everything that I need to understand that thus far, everything's as legitimate as it can be.
Are you part of TLS now, the light system?
I'm not formally initiated. Maybe one day I will be. Maybe this is a form of my training. I don't know. But no, I'm not formally a part of the organization.
But they are human beings.
Human beings and beyond. There are extraterrestrial races that work with the organization. Again, big picture, we're talking about an organization that is, they're physical, but they're intergalactic, they're interdimensional. It's like a spiritual version of anything that we can even fathom. Their purpose is to bring us together. So this isn't just about the human race. This is about life as a whole. The purpose is to unite us not just on planet Earth, but in the universe as a whole, which is why, of course, extraterrestrial life is a part of this. There are a lot of controversial viewpoints when it comes to extraterrestrial life and intentions and all that.
Now, when good things happen, and they do happen occasionally, would we conceive that perhaps TLS, the Light System Group, was behind it?
I would say most of the time when they're behind something, you wouldn't know because they're stopping something that would have done a lot of damage. So it's not like you know about that thing because it never happened.
Are there some well-known names in the group that you know about and you just can't say?
Yes. There are well-known names that all of you know about that I obviously can't expose them or share their names. But again, like I said, it could be anywhere from very, very big, well-known world leaders all the way to producers, authors, celebrities in whatever field they're in, all the way to your brother, that's just working a so-called day-to-day job undercover.
Jason, if they're doing good for society, why do they want to remain anonymous? You would think that's something that they would be very public about.
Because to do the good in the way that they do it, you must work undercover. Otherwise, they'd be exposed. Being exposed exposes you to you expose yourself to being open to being attacked and it's almost like when you work anonymous, nobody knows what your next step is.
Right.
And with that being said, over the past 2 years, they've been putting out a lot of information. So I do think this is the beginning of a very big and disclosure process that I think we've all been waiting for, and I think that it's just a part of it, not the end-all be-all. Just a part, and there are many parts to this. But they are coming more and more public, as actually happened on this show on August 26th of 2020. That was the first time they decided to come public, which all started with you, George.
Interesting. Tell me a little bit more about that. How did that happen?
I still don't know how that happened. All I know is that I did my best to follow the task that they gave me, which was they gave me the opportunity to put out this document called the Pyramid Code, which you know about from that first show we did.
Right.
And, of course, Beyond Belief on Gaia. And when I put that out, they pretty much said, okay, you want to put it out, but you're on your own, go figure it out. And my answer to them was, what do you mean I'm on my own? You guys have all the power in the world. Just put me on the shows, give me the platform, and I'll do it. They said, no, you're going to figure it out yourself. And in hindsight, I wouldn't change a thing because it made me do the work to get to where I'm at today in terms of speaking on big stages in front of thousands of people and having the platform that was built through very, very, very hard work, meaning it was earned. It wasn't just given, and that changes the whole scenario that's going on here. So pretty much when they told me that it was up to me, I made calls after call after call and email after email after email, and all I know is you were one of those calls in terms of Coast to Coast AM radio. I called on a Thursday morning. I got a call back that evening. I was on a call with somebody on your team for about 3 hours telling the story and explaining the story. And just a week later, August 26th, which, by the way, is a very relevant date, numerologically speaking, in the Pyramid Code with those numbers, 826 is spoken over and over and over.
And then you were on. Jason, TLS, the Light System Group that's trying to do good for humanity, how long has it been in existence?
To my knowledge, thousands of years, but I don't know an exact date of formation.
All right. So it's been around for a long, long time.
Very long time. Just like the dark side has been around for a very, very long time, and we know that, same exact is true for the exact opposite side.
I wonder what came first, the dark or the light?
I think they have to happen together.
Interesting. Now, they're fully aware that you're talking publicly about this organization, aren't they?
Well, they were the ones that sent me to do that.
So you're basically their messenger.
I guess in a way. Honestly, I look back, I don't even know how that ended up happening because I didn't understand that that was going to evolve into this when I first started. When I first started, they just said you could put out the Pyramid Code document if you'd like. And I knew that they understood the bigger picture because they told me if you choose to do this, your life is changing forever. Now, I didn't understand the big picture back then, but I'm starting to see it now because my life changed forever.
Do you sometimes say, oh, my gosh, why'd I get out of real estate? Or are you glad you're doing what you're doing?
No, I love doing what I'm doing. This is my purpose. It's my mission. It's my path. Doesn't mean it's easy. I sleep a lot less. It's a lot less of a calm lifestyle, a lot more movement, but I'm a man on a mission. It's a part of it.
Do they communicate with you? And if they do, how do they do so?
Just like you would communicate with anybody else, calls, like I meet with them, it's just like you would communicate with anybody else.
So it's been face-to-face, beyond the Ray figure, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Are there some things that they just can't stop? Like, let's say an asteroid were headed this way. Do they have the technology to stop an asteroid or not?
It's very, very interesting that you bring that up. So in one of the interviews that I did with Ray, I believe it was Disclosure Part 3, I asked him, what about a meteor or an asteroid coming and hitting Earth and wiping it out? And he said, listen, that whole narrative is a bunch of BS. And he said, let me tell you why. Earth has a magnetic field, something to do with the core of Earth and a certain magnetic field, electromagnetic field that surrounds Earth, which we know exists. What he says, and this is knowledge directly from TLS, is an asteroid of the size that would wipe out Earth cannot hit Earth because an asteroid at that size, at such a magnitude, also has an electromagnetic field. And what happens when you take two magnets and try to bring them to each other of the same side?
They repel. Yeah.
That's the whole point. According to TLS, an asteroid of that magnitude cannot hit Earth, just like a planet cannot hit a planet because of certain universal laws. Now, there are theories that planets have hit planets in the past, but I'm going to emphasize that they are theories. We have never actually seen that happen. And if you ask TLS and Ray and TLS as a whole, they will tell you that it is impossible because that is just like in an atom. A proton and a neutron will never, ever, ever hit each other. They cannot collide. Same thing in our solar system. It cannot happen.
If Jason, you rattled off some names of some of the members, and you won't, but if you did, would we say, we knew it? We knew it.
Possibly, yeah.
Some of them are that well known.
Yes, very well.
All walks of life, sports figures, actors, all
walks of life, all the way from astronauts to world leaders to movie producers and so on.
And they're recruited the same way you were, basically?
Everybody's recruited in their own different way based on what will fit that person. So for some people, it could be a mother that's bringing in her daughter. That would be a whole lot different than a stranger approaching another stranger on the street.
Which is what happened to you, basically.
Which is what happened to me.
Do you meet regularly with anybody anymore?
It's not like weekly meetings or anything like that. No, it's if there's something going on and I have to know about it, somebody will call me. I'll get a brief on something. But again, it all depends on your position within the organization, what you're being used for. No, it's not like there's a consistent schedule of every Wednesday at this time we're going to meet. No, it's
you don't do Zoom calls and stuff like that.
I could pick up the phone and call Ray right now if I wanted to. There's no problem with that.
Is there a leader of TLS? One person?
Not one person, multiple. And those leaders are generally very old people. When I say very old, we're speaking about hundreds of years old. And yes, there are humans that are that old living on Earth today. And they're not leaders in terms of like an organizational leader. They're a leader of the organization, but they're spiritual leaders. So it's very spiritually oriented. So those leaders are very powerful people, spiritually speaking. They can do incredible things. Like levitation is a walk in the park. That's second nature to them.
Jason, tell us briefly about the disclosure video.
The disclosure series started in January of 2022. I made a request to the organization, to Ray specifically, to come on for an interview. He agreed, and the organization agreed. He agreed contingent on a voice change and just keep it anonymous. So you would see just the outline of his body, just like you would in the outline of any other interview. So disclosure part 1 happened in January. It was received so well. The series has been seen by, I believe, over 20 million people at this point.
That's fantastic.
Disclosure Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 already came out. This entire series is free, by the way.
How many shows will there be, programs?
As many as I can convince them to do. I hope to continuously bring more people. So a lot of people from watching the first 3 said, is it possible to bring somebody else from the organization instead of just bringing Ray every time? So I asked. I persisted. The answer was yes. And Disclosure 5 will be happening. I actually already recorded the interview. Disclosure 5 is with a woman in the organization who they call Black Widow. Everybody in the organization has a code name. So her code name is the Black Widow, and she's going to be, we'll call it like featured in Disclosure Part 5, sharing from her perspective.
Jason, how many other Americans potentially could